Okay. Part 2. We are talking about the, let's say, most useless hardware inventions of, let's say, our lifetime, at least, in terms of computer hardware, software. Doesn't have to be new ones. It can be old ones as well. This part is actually mine, so I'm going to show you some of my personal favorites, roughly 10 of them or so. With that being said, this is That IT Show podcast, our new episode. Let's roll in the intro and let's talk about it.
Okay, this is my time to ask you first, how are you, and then what are your 10 or so, let's say, technical failures that didn't make any sense when they started. And I was asking this question before we started.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly have absolutely no idea what this is, but I think that this is either found on a random Chinese USB junk site,
Mm-hmm.
or in a highly specialized web shop.
On the eastern part of the world, probably?
No. Highly specialized web shop that deals with pleasures and different things that you can do to yourself or
to others.
Around you.
No, this is not that. But I'm fine. Thank you very much. And you're going to see what my some of my personal favorites are. It was actually quite difficult to select 10 of them because you could probably have 100. And I'm sure you could as well.
Can I just interject with one thing?
Yeah, sure.
I need to close the previous episode. Apple Vision Pro has become one of those things.
Okay, people have started returning them.
Yes, because the obvious thing that was going to happen is that Apple has a policy of you can return everything that you bought in 10 days after you bought it and get the full refund. And now the first 10 days have expired and people have returned the gadgets.
Yeah, I've seen posts all over the internet about this. I find this to be not necessarily hilarious, funny in a way, definitely, but kind of expected, especially having in mind the way in which this was designed. I'm not even going to talk about the lack of software. That's to be expected. But the front-heavy design and less than comfortable, let's say, approach that people have when they have that on their head is going to definitely, take no prisoners. People are going to return them in hundreds, maybe even thousands.
Yes, and do you know what were the 5 main reasons why people are returning the Apple Pros?
My first reason would be the lack of protection for the lens from the inside.
No.
My personal
nothing
one,
close.
but okay.
First, the weight.
Yeah.
The weight distribution.
Yeah.
Because it is heavily
heavy.
weighted to the front, so you need to keep your neck straight, and you are straining your neck. Eye discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
Some people said that they have a serious problem with having problems with vision after they have worn the unit for long. But this is one of those things where I can say that this is probably the thing that has that is when you deal with any VR headset, you are going to have those problems. And one of the reasons why people were returning it that weren't mentioned en masse, but everybody tried to touch on it because nobody's trying to put it front and center, is that Apple has completely forbidden the porn on the Apple Vision Pro.
Do we really have to comment on that?
No, but I think this is one of those things where you just need to understand what people want on their 3D on their 3D visualizing gadgets, and once you leave out one of those things that people actually use, you are going to get some backslash on this. So. This is just one of those things. So, what are these magnificent USB-powered hands?
When I tell you the name of the product, you're probably going to do a head slap, realize instantly what this is, and then start ranting how useless it is. This is called the USB eye massager.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Just clue me in.
So this is like a peripheral device that's shaped like, I don't know if you watched the Three Stooges, but it's like eye-poking type of thing.
Okay.
Basically, the idea is that you're going to use this to kind of like massage your eyes, like to relax them.
So it
So
vibrates?
basically, it's meant to be like used around your eyes. Maybe in a parallel universe, it might help with some types of headaches or something.
Okay,
And it
but
has two vibrating
what is the USB
settings.
for?
Yeah, vibrating settings. It has high speed and low speed. Probably at high speed you could do some serious retinal damage or something like that. I wouldn't want to try this at all. I saw this many moons ago when it was launched, and my initial question was already, what the hell were these people thinking doing this? Why on earth would you risk blindness to use such a stupid device, like having some plasticky, rubbery, vibrating things poking in your eyes? That's my question.
I have many opinions on this, but let's say that I have seen and heard about vibrators being used for different parts of the body, mainly for the spine and for the muscles, because this is the main use that they have.
Especially nowadays, very popular.
But I, having used those different shiatsu massaging things and different, I never ever had even a slightest idea of poking into my head, into my eye, and turning it on. I honestly don't understand what kind of a person is going to buy this.
What's the intended
to massage
audience of this?
People who think that their vision is still good.
Yeah, because there are so many different ways in which you can basically, make your vision worse without having this kind of stupid device doing it.
Do you have any idea on the volume, price?
No.
Anything? So this is just one of those random things that you found on the internet.
Yeah, I found that on the internet, but I saw this many moons ago when it was launched, and instant question was, what the hell?
So this had a launch.
Yeah, this was an actual product. This was not a paper launch.
No. Okay, I know this is an actual product, but usually when I see those products, these are just in the curiosity section on some site. Nobody buys it, but it just exists on the internet, and you are not sure if this is a rendering or somebody just created this thing out of thin air. I heard
the stupidest rumor ever, that the authors of this, after this device, were looking to create some kind of a back massager, which makes sense, but what doesn't make sense is back massager that cures cancer or something like that.
Oh, so they basically went into the normal snake oil territory and just decided they're going to just going to solve the world's problems using
an awful lot of weed
USB devices.
I think that it was them smoking too much weed.
No. I think this is just marketing. This is just the result of a very curious marketing brainstorm.
Yeah, this was heavily marketing research based sarcasm.
You know the thing when they say that there are no bad ideas in the brainstorms.
Yeah, there are.
Yes, this is one of those.
This bad marketing brainstorm idea made it to the market. Actually, yeah, that's went full circle up to oblivion. Okay. That's the first one.
Go on.
They actually get progressively worse for the first part. The second one you're going to actually like. The second one is USB Ghost Radar. Ghosts. Casper. Ghosts.
Oh, okay. Talk me through it.
Okay, this was a product that was made by a company from, I think it was Japan, called Solid Alliance. This was a solution to all of your less than funny or maybe completely ridiculous fears of the supernatural, although there are a lot of people who believe in ghosts. We are in no way mocking them, although we are a little bit. And this was a device, the USB device that you could connect to your computer, and it was a ghost detecting computer peripheral. So this one is supposed to detect ghosts, spirits, and loads of different supernatural things. Uses some very complex algorithms, analyzes data like biometric feedback of your skin and whatever. And it allows you basically to have your valuable time to perform, let's say, less than funny things like exorcisms or underneath your desk in fear of, such very, very useful gadgets, if you ask me.
Okay.
Somebody went down the deep end when they were figuring this one out.
I'm not sure. I think this is one of those things where you and I would probably think that this is the thing that is from the deep end of the people's imagination.
Okay.
But there is a thin line between those and people who are actually trying to make money on gullible people.
Yeah.
I see that this thing first. I just did a quick search. This thing is also a USB memory stick.
Yeah. So that's one useful thing.
It has a sort of kind of purpose.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing is that if you spend any amount of time on any online site that is trying to peddle you marginally intelligent things for a couple of dollars, you have probably seen the rare metal /gold /diamond detector with huge antennas and so on.
Mm-hmm.
I think this comes from that part of the internet. This is just one of those things where somebody creates something that is, let's say, I won't say nice. It's strange looking. It is supposed to be mysteriously looking, whatever. It's basically a LED matrix with probably some kind of electronics that blinks on and off.
Mm-hmm.
So basically the machine that doesn't go ping but goes blink.
Mm-hmm.
And they then sell it for probably stupid amount of dollars. I think the price for the core device was something like $60.
I think that we should paraphrase a very well-known movie from the 80s. Who you're going to call? Ghost Radar.
Yes, or if you make it, they'll come.
Yeah, sure.
And this is one of those problems with the things on the internet. I think that first thing that should happen if we are going to turn into the real society that takes care of the environment is to get rid of people who are doing these things.
Oh, I agree with you. You are completely on the money.
Because they should be completely banned from selling any product at all.
Making, envisioning, and selling.
Yes. So let's move on. This was the first one was I'm going to say that the first one was much more interesting. This one is straight down basically fraud and doesn't make any sense.
Down the rabbit hole.
The first one had this one first. This one is not going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
It is not going to do anything.
Yeah.
The first one has it has potential
to do so.
To do the self-inflicting wounds on you. This one doesn't. So the first one is better, I think.
Yeah, your measuring scale weirds the crap out of me, but okay. Next one you're actually going to like. Might lead to an interesting discussion.
Oh, Newton.
Yeah, this is Apple Newton MessagePad.
I was tempted to put it on the list.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was definitely going to put it on the list.
I'm going to say that it belongs on this list, but for a wrong reason.
Yes, I agree. Actually, I would expand on that. A list of wrong reasons.
I think this is one of those things where Apple was completely right with the product that was completely well designed,
mm-hmm.
but it was just off by a couple of years.
Yeah, the wrong time, and, wrong place, wrong technology.
I wouldn't say wrong technology. I would just say not enough technology.
Yeah, not mature enough.
Because this was basically what was done later with the Palm.
Mm-hmm.
Palm Pilot and everything else that came after this was more or less a copy of this.
Yeah, and it was.
It was
It was a copy of this, not necessarily a good one in many aspects.
But it was a working copy.
Yeah.
And it was able to make money because the technology was near its limits, but it was able to do what you wanted it to do. So if you remember way back then, we actually had devices that you could write on.
Mm-hmm.
You had to use that special kind of alphabet, but this was something that was actually useful, and it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So this was something that actually made sense, but when the Newton came out, it didn't make sense any sense at all.
So here's the break.
Because it was too big, too expensive.
Yeah, here's the breakdown. So this is 1993, 94, let's say, time frame. The guy who used to be in charge of Apple while Steve Jobs was out, Scully, demoed it in 1992. And in 1993, it was shown on Macworld Expo. It was basically branded as the hottest new thing on the Macworld Expo show. The price was $900 in 1993, which is obscene amount of money, even today, let alone 30 years ago when this was launched. And 50,000 of those, roughly, in accordance to information that I was able to find, were sold in a couple of, let's say, first 3 to 4 months of the device on the market. It had a gazillion problems, definite problems with handwriting recognition. It was quite bulky, quite big, quite heavy. It was obviously very expensive. It didn't really have all that good software. And basically, the general sum total of this, if you look at this as a device that kind of was a premonition of things to come, like Palm and others, it was a premature release of a device that's going to happen a couple of years down the road.
Yes, I think that the biggest problem is what did you say the least price was when it came out?
$900 or something. $900.
$900. Let me just check one thing.
Times 2.
So it's $1,920 today.
Times 2, roughly, yes.
So it's more than two. So it's basically a little bit under $2,000 for something that was well under what you wanted to use way back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the thing that Apple is doing. Basically, I would say as a thing that reoccurs. I think this one was one of those things. If you remember the Apple Mac that was designed as a cube or as a toaster.
Yes.
That was completely non-functional.
Mm-hmm.
Then they did the same thing with the one that was designed as a vase or as an urn, depending on what you're looking for. And this is one of those things where I will say that the market needs somebody who is going to invest into a disruptive technology. But at the same time, when somebody actually does that, we are going to laugh as off because we are going to see that this is completely off the grid right now.
There's actually one more thing to say. Maybe you can comment on this. I'm really interested in your opinion. This is one of the last devices where Apple really tried to be first on the market. Do you understand what I want to say? Because after that, iPhone was after Android, although they represented it as something super new. The iPad, same thing. iPod, same thing. They reinvented the existing devices and did it in a much better way after Newton.
I would say that you are more or less correct. But I wouldn't say that this is because Apple was trying to copy other people. But it was because the development has become so expensive that if both you and I, for example, try to develop separately the same thing, we are going to come up with the same thing that is going to look completely different with the more or less same technology, because the technology is right now not so different across the different vendors. And the other thing is that we are going to be wasting enormous amount of money. Mm-hmm. So trying to invest something that is completely off the market, I would say that iPhone was designed as a good product. iPad was a good product. iPod was an amazing product.
All of them were amazing.
Because what they did is they understood that people want a particular product, and they designed it the way it should be done. But this one wasn't a copy of anything, but at the same time, they didn't have any feedback on how these things should look like. So this is one of those things. Because I just read that they said that the production and development of the Newton was something like $100 million in $93. So this is something like $200 million in today's money. This is not an enormous amount of money to develop something completely new.
It's not.
Microsoft has burned through a couple of orders of magnitude more trying to develop their own products.
Yeah.
So, and they also didn't innovate too much. So yes, this is one of those innovations that didn't make it to the market. But I think that, to be completely honest, I think that this was a thing that the market needed.
Yeah, I agree. I had altogether one PDA in my life, which was Asus's version of the Palm with Windows Mobile. And I liked the device a lot. Really worked well, good battery. It had Garmin GPS on it as well, which was one of the key reasons why I bought it. And it was, let's say, something that was quite a bit of time after this product. Obviously, I'm talking about 2003, 2004 timeframe, so we're talking about 10 years difference. But that was actually a useful, like a Palm type device.
Yes, I had the Palm. Then I had it was what was it called? The Spring?
Yeah. There was one device called Spring in that era.
Let me just check. I'm Palm. It was called a Springboard, if I'm correct.
Yeah, there was a product something like that, or Handspring or something like that, maybe.
Handspring.
Yeah.
Yes, Handspring. So basically, I had the Palm, and then after this, the guys who did the Palm Pilot created their own separate company that was founded in 1998. I'm just reading from the internet. And then they decided they're going to be able to create a device that is going to be upgradable. So they created a device that had its own dock. And you could plug things into it, and it had different things that you could buy. And one of those things was GSM module. And then after that, I bought a Treo. And this is the where a colleague of mine was joking with me that I'm using my plate to talk because Treo was huge. Basically, the Treo was as big as a hand, and then you open it up.
Yeah, I know.
So it covered a quarter of your face, actual quarter of your face, while you were trying to talk to anybody. And I think that those devices were probably the most useful devices that they had for what they were claiming to be. You were able to take notes on them. They were working, and they weren't trying to oversell the technology.
Cool. Sounds reasonable.
And this is one of those things we were talking about overselling technology when we were talking about object storage today or yesterday. Yesterday, and this is one
it wasn't
of the things
overselling. It was over-promising, under-delivering.
Yes, but it's basically overselling because they're selling you something that you cannot use. And because either it's not working or it is not working as you were told that it's going to work. The same thing happened with these kind of devices.
Okay. Ready for the next one?
Okay. Yes.
This one is one of my personal favorites.
Oh, yes. The video phone.
This is Amstrad emailer. Emailer.
Yes, okay.
So this was like a desktop telephone with LCD screen. It had internet dial-up. It had email and messaging capabilities. And there were a couple of models after that released in 2002, like Emailer Plus and E3 and whatnot. Some of the later models actually included something that you will really like, which was that they had the capability to also use the LCD screen to play ZX Spectrum games. Okay.
Okay, but probably after the Amstrad got the license to do it.
Yeah. So this had reliance on various types of external services like Amserv service for functionality, etc. All of them have been discontinued, and the background service that it was reliant on was also shut down in 2011 or something. But here's the kicker. I was able to find one on Amazon, and somebody is actually selling it. A company, not a private person, on amazon.co.uk. It was something that made me laugh so hard, because as a device, this is as pointless as they can be. UI issues, very bad functionality. When it was launched, smartphones were already on the way. It was very limited product in terms of adoption, whatnot, and the fact that they added games and whatnot just made it worse, if you ask me.
Okay, I cannot see a reality in which I am near my phone, because we must remind everybody that this was a wired phone. So this had a wire, and also this had probably substantial power source connected to it. So you probably would need to play your game somewhere where your phone was stationed. And back way then, when the phones were used like this wasn't your living room, or this wasn't your the room where you slept. This is probably somewhere in the hall, or somewhere in the one of the hallways. So when you answer the phone, you answer the phone. So I don't see this as a business product.
Okay.
I know where this idea was stolen from. This was stolen from French Minitel, and this was a completely useless copy of what the French Minitel did, because French Minitel actually made sense.
Okay.
And the other thing is that I would say that this is useless, but then again, I know that something like 20 years ago, SMS for okay. So it's not that expensive. I know that SMS for fixed phones was introduced.
Oh yes,
then when you realize that somebody actually did it in 2008 and 2007, this thing doesn't look so stupid then.
Yeah, I used to work with a certain company that used to provide products with fixed SMS. They were those products were quite popular at the time.
I'm just going to say that I know the numbers. One of the leading operators here in Croatia, when they have the peak of the number of customers that are using fixed SMS, they had 1,200 people using it.
Yeah.
The promotion for it was €500,000. So basically, it would be much less expensive for them if they just actually got and gifted everybody a mobile phone to be able to use the SMS.
Yeah.
But then it's just me. So this is one of those things where Amstrad was trying to copy the thing that didn't make any sense, and this is what drove them into the ground.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Because what they did is they were trying to do the same thing that they did with the personal computer started. They were trying to make a cheap device with something that they thought that people are going to need. And computers were actually something that people wanted, but this is something that nobody needed.
Yeah. Still, I found a source which claims that this device was used in 2011 by 150,000 customers, which is not, a number to sneeze at. But still, I mean, it was pretty pointless.
I don't know. I'm completely for this, because I think that the market actually needs experimenting, as I said. But on the other hand, do you remember when Larry Ellison introduced NetPC?
Oh yes, I do.
The thin client with the no memory and no screen and no network connectivity, and basically
was a source of misery for many years after that.
Yes.
Thank you for reminding me of that.
So this is one of those moonshots like this. Okay, now the next one.
You're gonna like this one.
Oh God. Okay. So
This
what
looks
do we
like
have
a
here?
Nokia communicator, but it's not a Nokia communicator. It's called
So
PocketSurfer 2.
basically, worst Nokia communicator clone that we have ever seen.
Yes, exactly that. And it's not only that.
Okay.
This device, so the Datawind PocketSurfer 2, this is 2007. Okay? 2007 is basically at the tail end of super big Nokia popularity.
And this is also the time where Sidekick was gaining popularity. And Sidekick was actually a thing that you could use, made sense, was working, and was a device that was desirable amongst
There's
some
actually
people.
something worse. We are talking about 2007. In 2007, Blackberries were still a thing. Between this and BlackBerry, there was no competition.
I can sort of kind of understand what was the idea of this, because I understand where this comes from. This was supposed to be a device that was meant to cater to both the young users and to business users.
And to people who need mobile and kind of like a desktop device.
Yes, but on the other hand, I see that the design of the keyboard is strange, to say at least.
Yes.
The information density on the screen, it's insane. Because there is no reason to have this has to be a low resolution screen, so there is no reason to have as many tabs both on the top and on the left, and then random tabs in the middle of the screen. I guess that this wasn't a touch screen, because I can see that it has a touchpad on the right.
Yeah.
And this touchpad makes the keyboard almost unusable. So, I don't know. This is one of those things, but what is lacking to make this a complete failure to remember is that it doesn't have as many users as some of the things that we mentioned before.
Yeah. No, that's coming.
So this wasn't so popular.
Yeah, those things are coming as well. The next one is...
Yes, I hope so. So I just checked. Sidekick, or the Danger Hip Top, that was rebranded as Sidekick later, came out in 2002. So this was more or less a copy of something that was on the market and much better done.
Okay.
Okay.
The next one...
Yes.
Will probably want to probably you're going to want to like roll your eyes a little bit, because you will recognize this one.
Oh God. Yes, this is I know only one thing that is worse than this.
So this is the Sony Vaio mouse talk.
Yes, I know what this is. This is when Sony was experimenting when trying to crisscross different objects that they found around the lab, and trying to do different things, do the things that they shouldn't be doing. So I think that there is only one thing worse than this. But let me ask you a few questions. First, I guess that this is supposed to be a headphone/microphone combination for your desktop.
Correct.
And serve as a mouse at the same time.
Correct.
Okay, so it kind of, in some strange
alternate universe
makes sense. If you are in the 90s, I guess, and if your music card or your audio card is lacking any kind of ability, and at the same time you don't have the speakers, and you want to talk to people on the behalf of the existing service that existed back way then you could use this thing. So
And you were only...
I would guess that this was a flop.
This was a massive flop. Yeah. One day it was, for example, in the on the shelves of certain stores, and a couple of days later, all of them were gone because they were completely useless and not selling at all. The worst part of it is that neither of the functionalities, nor the, let's say, calling functionality, so let's say speaker meets microphone functionality, nor the mouse functionality were working all that well, and you can only do one at a time as well. So this is the combination of devices nobody asked for before or since.
And done badly.
And done badly, yeah. Well, they were trying. What can you do?
Do you remember when Siemens Mobile did those? It wasn't called Colibri. It was called. It had some kind of word play on word Colibri. It was Ex Libri or whatever. They created in the mid 2000s. They created a series of jewelry / mobile phones, and they created something like 6 or 7 models, and they promised that they're going to create a new model for each spring and autumn collection.
I think you mentioned this in one of the episodes last year.
So they had something that was supposedly meant to be a mobile phone that at the same time was a piece of accessory that you wore around your neck, or as a bracelet, or as a necklace, or as a hand bracelet, and it was supposed to be a work of art. This reminds me of this, but I think that Siemens one made a little bit less sense than this one.
Okay. Actually, I found when I was trying to remember all of these devices, I found an article about this one, about the mouse talk, and the author of the article said something along the lines of, as a smartphone with a shaver would be pretty much a pointless product, so was mouse talk. Which kind of makes sense. I mean, it's a completely outrageous metaphor, which makes sense when you compare this product to reality. Completely doesn't make sense.
I would say that the problem is not that this one doesn't make sense. At least it was designed to look nice. Mm-hmm. I like the design.
Okay.
And what I will say is that what makes even less sense is that a couple of years ago I got a mouse that was at the same time a document scanner as a gift. So this thing with trying to put something into the mouse in order to make it more something, more of an accessory, was still a thing on the market. So the jury is still out there on this one. I like it as a design. I know that this is completely useless, and what I really want to know are two things. First, was this a USB device or PS2 /
if I remember correctly, this was PS2. If I remember correctly.
So probably PS2, then plus 2 different cables for the audio and microphone. And the other thing, was this an actual mouse with a ball?
I think not. I would have to research. I never had it in my hands. I just saw it on pictures, I'm afraid.
Yes, this is the thing. Because if this has a ball in it, then this is hilarious.
Yeah. I will disagree with you on one thing, though. So this device here, there's something along the lines of what you were discussing 30 seconds ago. My dad had something very similar, LG's mouse as well. He used it as a mouse and as a scanner for years. It was very useful to him. But generally speaking, I understand where you're coming from, and you're correct. A mouse with the scanner kind of makes sense.
Too bad that the Valentine's Day has passed, because you would get one for Valentine's Day.
No, I don't need that. Thank you very much. You're so kind. But, of course, because that's the way in which Life Energy works. You get Atari portfolio, I get a useless device.
to be completely honest, portfolio is not so useful anymore.
It's not about that. You know it very well.
Yes, but then it's different things.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's continue.
Okay. Next one is there for us to rant a little bit because we're talking about technology, not a specific product. And
Okay.
a very popular YouTube channel a couple of months ago or so, maybe a little bit more than a couple of months ago, had a very big discussion about this, which I wholeheartedly agree with. So this is what we are discussing.
Oh, this the one standard that unites everything that exists on the planet.
Yeah, and all of these, pieces of art, let's call them that way, before starting to curse my way out of the episode. The way in which this infuriates me rivals my infuriation with the last product that I'm going to show on the slides. And when you see which product that is, you're going to understand the metaphor. First and foremost, if I can just rant about one thing for a second, it's not going to be a long one.
Okay, let me just be completely clear. This slide is not correct.
Why?
Because it is saying that the incomprehensible renaming schemes of existing USB standards and so on. First, the names are not completely correct because some of them have spaces where the spaces shouldn't be. So even this, even the thing that this slide fixes, in reality, is a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean.
USB 3 isn't written in this way.
Yeah, I know.
USB 4 is written in a different way. So, okay.
Can I go back to one thing?
Okay.
So my primary gripe with USB today, I'm not going to go over all of the past versions because this episode would take a couple of days for me to finish.
So your gripe is with which one?
No. It's not going to be about the standard itself. It's going to be about connector. Okay?
Okay, then which one?
USB-C.
Which
USB-C, of course.
Which USB-C,
yeah,
okay.
The latest one that we're using. Basically, all of this that you can see on the screen infuriates me to no end, but not nearly as much as the USB-C connector does. Here's the reason why. So we went from a square connector, USB 3 Type A, this one, basically. We went to a very small, rounded connector that has a couple of very nasty tendencies. First and foremost, it has a tendency to break. The connector itself. Second.
Okay, but to be completely honest, USB Mini A and Mini B were much worse when it comes
completely
to
correct.
Especially micro.
Micro were the worst. Definitely, you're correct. I'm with you. But that's the reason why I'm so pissed off at this, because instead of learning from the past mistakes, because the micros were way earlier in the USB development, we went back to the idea of micro connectors with the USB-C, which breaks either altogether or certain pins break. I have a very expensive MacBook Pro 1 meter away from me here, which is able to use the charging via Thunderbolt 4 port, but not data, which is my personal favorite. Furthermore, USB Type-C connectors as female connectors on the laptops and the cables that go in them have a tendency to disconnect very easily. This was not the case with USB-A. In no shape or form. It was much more difficult because they were physically bigger. But my biggest gripe with USB right now, actually, this is very current discussion now. Apart from my rants about the USB-C, let's forget about that for a second, is actually about something else, which is the very sneaky way in which manufacturers are selling USB-C cables. Hence the reason why I had to spend a couple of €100 in December to buy quality USB-C cables so that they actually work as designed. Because if you go, for example, to Amazon and go to the list of all of the available USB-C cables and let's say sort them in order of price or popularity or whatever, and maybe even select just per brand, and you use, I don't know, Anchors and, the expensive ones, OWC, whatnot, soon enough you're going to realize that most of the cables nowadays are done as USB 2, maybe USB 3, and the aspect of the cable that they're focusing on is charging, not data transfer. I know that you noticed this yourself as well, which is very misleading to the customer because these cables can be quite expensive. What we need is not to change the names of the standards constantly, because this is not the first name change that USB-IF did in the past 15 years. What we need is also cable standardization, so that people know that when they buy, USB-C cable, that it's at least, I don't know, a USB 3.2 Gen 2 or something like that, in terms of the data that it can transfer. Not so that you buy a very expensive cable which charges your phone with 60 watts while being USB 2, which you can actually buy. This is completely insane. Nobody uses USB 2 anymore.
Okay, I'm going to rant a little bit about different things about USB.
Okay.
First, with almost every other standard that I know of, when another standard comes out, you usually know what is going to happen with the speed. So usually when another standard comes out, you know that the next generation is going to be, I don't know, twice as fast or 10 times as fast and so on. So for example, you have, I don't know, networking standards. They started coming out as 10 megabit, then 100 megabit, then 1 gigabit. Then 10 gigabits. Okay, then Intel and the guys started to screw up the standard and decided they're going to do 2.5 and 5 and so on and so on. But you know what you expected. USB first decided they're going to have USB 1, 2, 3, 3.1, 3.1, Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3, 3.2, and so on and so on. So USB 3.2, Gen 2, X2, whatever that means. They jumped, USB 1 to USB 2 jumped by a factor of what it is, 40, for some reason. Then the next jump was
by 10 and a half.
By 10 and a half, and then by 2. USB 3.0 is also named 3.1 Gen 1.
Nowadays it's 3.2 the Gen 1, yeah.
Yes, and then, okay, let's put this thing aside. Then the connectors. Almost all the connectors are able to support one type of the USB device, but there is no discernible way to know which connector is supporting what. And to add insult to injury, USB 3C, specifically C, is not a connector that is completely symmetrical.
Okay.
You actually have different pins, and you can actually create a connector that runs as one thing when plugged in one way, then you flip it over and it can run as another thing.
Didn't notice that. That's news to me. Okay, even worse.
Yes, I'm going to send you an interesting thing, because a guy tried to create, and he managed to create a disk, and that was basically, it had one set of data when you plug it in one direction, and then another set of data when you plug it in another direction. And you can do that because you can do detection on which side the actual USB-C is plugged in. And this is part of the standard. Nobody is using it except some of the people are. And this is what is completely misunderstandable to me. The other thing, super speed. First high speed, then super speed, then super speed plus, then super speed plus for the same thing that is
twice as fast.
Twice as fast, and then whatever it is, the logo for USB 4. First, they lost the space inside the naming. Then they decided the first version is going to be V 1.0, not 1.0. So USB 4 V 1.0. Why not 4.0? Why there is a slogan? And why the logo does not mention USB at all? And for the law of everything that is precious, why are they using the USB-C connector at the same time? Okay, you succeeded. You succeeded. This is one of those things that are at the same time amazing feats of engineering and complete failures in thinking of everybody involved.
How?
Because USB-C solved the problem.
Yeah. How much money would you like to bet on the fact that a couple of years down the road, the USB 1.0 that we have since 90s is going to become USB 4 0.5 version or something?
I don't know, but I know that this slide is missing the entire PD stupidity.
Don't get me started, please.
So this should be at least twice as big. This table here. I don't know. I expect the BSU is going to be the next version of the USB because it just doesn't make any sense. So let's flip it.
Yeah, cat tech. That's
cool. So this is just one of those things where they are create. I know only of the one offender that is worse than this.
Okay.
And this is the Wi-Fi Alliance.
Okay. I don't think they're worse, but go ahead.
Because they actually have no idea what is going to come up next. And sometimes the next generation of the standard comes in, I don't know, 7 years. It takes 7 years to develop. And then suddenly it takes 6 months to develop the next standard. So you know that they switched over from 6 to Wi-Fi 7 already. Yeah. There is a standard out there.
Yeah.
You know that actually when you try to buy equipment, there is equipment that is less expensive when you buy the Wi-Fi 7 than the Wi-Fi 6.
Yeah, I also saw a couple of YouTube videos about this recently.
I'm currently thinking about buying a Wi-Fi 7 access point. And the only thing that is keeping me from doing this is one amazing trick of technology that they managed to put into it.
Parallel throughputs, you mean? Parallel transfers?
No, Wi-Fi 7 requires, apparently in this iteration, requires active cooling.
Oh, yeah.
So Wi-Fi, your access point is suddenly becoming a noise source.
That's excellent. Yeah, that's what we need. Okay.
Yes. But yes, you're completely correct. USB is completely incomprehensible in all the different things that they're doing.
Yeah.
Let me just point out a few more things. Color coding.
We used to have USB 3.0 blue connectors, for example.
So they were blue. You also had USB A connectors that were yellow.
Yes. Especially on the motherboards and reds.
You know what these were?
No.
These were the connectors that were powered or providing power while the computer was off, but connected to the power.
Okay, very well-known feature of PC motherboards.
You could actually use it as the power connector to charge something, but at the same time it wasn't working unless the computer was powered on. So it was doubling as both the power connector and the data connector, depending on the state of the computer itself.
Excellent. Sounds like a marvelous idea.
I think that the only thing that was worse than this was when they tried to put eSATA as a connector on the motherboard.
That's where we disagree.
It was a good idea to put a connector that had the speed and the abilities of a SATA. But at the same time, trying to create a connector that is going to be compatible with both the internal and external disks, and with that kind of surface and that kind of connectors that it had was a completely missed the point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Ready for the next one?
Yes.
This is, I think, a little bit more of my peeve than yours, but you're going to recognize this one definitely.
Oh, the Mac keyboard.
Yeah.
The best butterfly design that never was.
Jesus Christ. So I wanted to, I would probably be able to do an hour episode about this, but I'm going to just cut myself short on this. They use these, butterfly mechanisms for a couple of generations of MacBook Pros, and after that they went back to the traditional scissor mechanism. And the only thing that I can say, on top of the fact that I have a couple of laptops with these keyboards, which they're utterly useless, there's actually a wider problem that I think both you and I are very much aware of with these keyboards. Both you and I are very, let's say, life-trained fast typers. We can type really fast. We have been able to do that for 30 plus years. When you touch this keyboard and start typing, you realize that you are back to, I don't know, kindergarten school, something like that. It's impossible to type quickly on that keyboard. There's another reason why. Wait for it. Because both you and I are also, you are like medium level, but I am very high level kicker of the keyboard. I need response from the keyboard. I prefer keyboards that are very hard. You gifted me a very, very, heavy keyboard from the good old days when they used to do them properly. Because pianist, whatnot, I really hit my keys hard. You don't do it as much. But these,
springs,
with these, it's impossible to type like I would normally do. And the end result of that, even forgetting about the fact that they were very unreliable, breaking all the time, repair was a nightmare, Apple denied it, then they confirmed it, blah, blah. Let's forget about all of the hoopla. I am unable to type on this keyboard at 1/3 of my speed.
As I said, I have opinions. First, when first Apple said that they are going to have a new design that's going to be called butterfly mechanism. Mm-hmm. What first came to mind was the butterfly mechanism that IBM launched a couple of decades ago, where, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Where the actual keyboard came out and then was able to open and create a bigger footprint than it was when it was inside the laptop.
Yeah.
So
this
I
was
hoping
the
that they were
ThinkPad 701 or something like that, if I remember correctly.
something like I have one of those upstairs.
Of course.
And I'm going to. This is one of the things that actually made sense back in the day. Because what IBM did is they decided that they wanted to have a sort of kind of full travel keyboard. Mm-hmm. So the keyboard that has the full travel while you're typing. And the keyboard needs to be bigger because people want to have keys that are normal size, but the laptop needs to get smaller. Mm-hmm. So they were solving the technological problem of trying to fit the full-size keyboard into a small laptop.
Yep.
And they did it in a way that actually made sense because the keyboard that they have actually still works. Mm-hmm. What Apple did is they were trying to create a keyboard that wasn't smaller but was thinner.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be better for everybody involved if they just went with the ZX Spectrum type keyboard.
Correct.
And then just put a foil on it.
Yeah.
And completely forgo with everything that they tried. Because this, first, you can see from here, you can see that there is a breaking point on the keyboard that is going to break. And everybody knows that this is going to be a material fatigue and this is going to just break.
Yeah.
The other thing is that it didn't make any sense because it was too thin when it came to trying to type. Mm-hmm. It didn't give you any
tactile feedback.
Any normal feedback other than I know that people were trying to when they were comparing it to something. They said that it was like typing in the mud. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, they didn't succeed in doing so much with the thickness of the keyboard itself. It just didn't solve any of the problems, and I think this was just one of those things where Apple was trying to create another thing that is different.
No, it was about design. They wanted to make everything thinner. That's all that it was. But and their keyboards still suck. All of them since those days. I cannot use them. They're amazing machines for some of the things that you and I do, but that's it. I put up with them. Although mostly I put up with them by having something like this.
Okay. So you have an actual keyboard.
Yes, because I'm unable to type on the laptop keyboards of Apple for the past 10 plus years, since the first unibody MacBook Pro, sorry.
I think that the last keyboard that was that has been in the last few generations of the Macs is not that bad. But I will say that from the get-go, I hate keyboards that are trying to limit the travel of the keys.
Yeah, exactly what I mentioned.
I always require at least a couple of millimeters of travel, and by a couple of millimeters, I mean at least 4 or 5. So not 1.7 or 1.1 or 0.7, and this is the numbers that they're aiming for.
Yeah. Okay.
And this is just the thing, but I think that we are not the only people who think about this.
Yeah.
I know that people, as you said, they are able to live with the new keyboards, but they are not happy with those.
Yep.
Because Apple used to have a keyboard that was pretty useful.
Mm-hmm.
And then for some reason they decided they're going to create this overpriced piece of crap that was the Butterfly.
Yeah. Okay, ready to go back to the 90s?
Yes.
Please stop doing that. You are
Okay.
You are making the recording nervous.
Okay. Oh, yes, the SoftRAM, what was what was the name of the other thing? Double space.
There was also RAM disk software something. No, that drive space.
There was a double space. Double
Stacker.
space was one.
And Stacker.
Stacker,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah,
Stacker,
I remember
yes.
those. Those actually worked. And you still could lose data, but they still worked. But this one.
What? Yes.
This one was my favorite from the 90s, basically. If there was a single piece of software, I used this because, marketing hype, whatnot. And a lot of people. Yeah, and price of memory as the first and foremost reason, of course. I mean, back in 1995, RAM cost something like $30 to $50 per megabyte. It was insanely expensive. And Windows 95 coming off of those, good old 640 kilobytes is good for everybody days. After that, having the capability to kind of like double your memory, which was the marketing slogan for this piece of abomination, was something that a lot of people fell for. And actually, there was a huge, I think it was even a class action lawsuit against the company that did this. So Synchronis or something like that they were called. Because FTC got involved in the US, they called their marketing false, misleading, and the company behind it, so the Synchronis, was eventually forced to pull the product from the market and issue refunds. And after that, this was 95, they released a handful of other Windows utilities unfolding in 1999, and I can pretty surely say that nobody is going to miss them at any given point in the future. That being said, I saw a very funny video a couple of weeks ago which reminded me of this. Basically, one of the YouTubers, and we are talking about the YouTube channel which has something like 500,000 subscribers, so it's not small by any means. A guy tried to install SoftRAM on Windows 10. It's a hilarious video. You should take a look at this. And I have another thing to tell you about this product. We should do an episode about this. Just for pure fun.
I think that what we should do, we should try to install the entirety of the madness that was installing a PC
in the 90s.
In the late 80s, start of the 90s.
Sounds good.
When first 486 came out and when CPUs became quick enough to enable you to create the stupidity that was Stacker, that was SoftRAM and so on. And it made your PC run a little bit slower, but a lot more unreliable.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time required you to do a lot of jumping through hoops and trying to install different things. Because the problem with this thing was that the idea behind this, as it usually is sane.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
if you are able to do a real-time compression of the memory. But the capability of the CPU that is going to be able to do this was nowhere near what they were promising. This is one thing. And the other thing that the memory is supposed to be quick. So there is a reason why Microsoft hasn't tried this thing yet. Here, to be completely honest, what Stacker did and what the
drive space,
double disk or different utilities did, this is completely normal in today's file systems. You can turn on compression, and you can
do it on memory as well. Hypervisors have that.
Yes, some of them, yes.
I mean, but, nowadays when everything is so much more quick.
Yes, but the ability to compress the files on the file system exists for the last couple of decades.
Yeah,
and this is completely okay. But this was just overselling something that was barely working.
Yeah.
And I just checked. They actually sold 700,000 copies of the software.
Yeah, I know.
So
I know.
This is pocket money.
There's only one thing that came out of this that was good, which was this situation raised awareness about how badly software can be written, sold as an, again, overpromise, underdeliver, and it definitely increased, let's say, scrutiny on the IT industry in terms of how regular people who are buying products can be scammed, in a sense.
I think that it raised the awareness, but the problem is that the users didn't notice it.
Yeah, well.
Okay, so the next one.
It's actually the next one and the last one. And I'm pretty sure that you're expecting this one, maybe not your first thought, maybe second or third, because you know me well enough. But my definite all-time hero of the worst piece of crap ever written for any type of hardware is called...
Windows ME.
Okay, just give me a second.
Better living.
Yeah, there's a reason why a lot of people call this Windows Mistake Edition. You know, there are definitely more than a few good reasons. First and foremost, the operating system that preceded this was Windows 98 Second Edition, which I think we both agree on was a pretty freaking good OS for the time, at the time when it was released. Shortly after that, Millenium Edition appeared, and it kind of got a bad reputation because a lot of people were considering this to be an upgrade to SE, which it wasn't. It was a different operating system completely, or mostly. And from those good old days of Windows Millenium or me trying to using them, I'm going to just mention two situations which pissed me off to no end. The first one was trying to make an Adaptex SCSI controller work on this was, shall we say, an experience. And the second thing, and I mentioned this in one of the episodes a couple of months ago, I tried to use Millenium Edition in probably, this was one of my first studio recordings that I did for an external client when I was doing multi-channel audio recording. And that was a very unpleasant experience of endless blue screens of death. So I start recording, blue screen of death. Start recording, blue screen of death. I mean, when I was using Millenium for a brief period of time, BSODs were hourly appearance, sometimes even more often than that. There are a couple of things, if you want to be fair and somewhat balanced, there were a couple of features, I think, if I remember correctly, that Millenium introduced, which were later developed into real products, into real features of the Windows OS, for example, in XP. They did, if I remember correctly, System Restore was first, something that first appeared in Windows Millenium Edition, although it was useless there, but afterwards it became a thing and still is. But everything else about this, like the worst abomination of software ever written, only rivaled by Prince Puller in Windows over the years. Everything else,
this is saying something, okay?
Yeah, everything else, if you ask me, was just as bad as it could be. And we are not talking about Windows Longhorn.
The thing is that this one was more or less a plug between what they were trying to do, and this was porting the Windows 2000 kernel to consumer version of the Windows.
To XP, yeah.
And what they had at the same time, and this thing that they had at the same time was Windows 98. So what they tried to do is, if I remember correctly, they were trying to just wrap the look and feel of Windows 2000 into something that would be based on the older kernel, because the new kernel wasn't finished. And at the same time, they had the problem with the Ring Zero drivers, because the drivers were actually deeply inside the kernel. And if anything broke, the entirety of the operating system broke. I know that this was way back then when we were expecting that the computer is going to crash at least 3 or 4 times a day.
Mm-hmm.
And this was normal. It's not normal, but it was normal. You just expected this is going to happen.
Yeah, kind of.
And this was one of the first things that was a big problem, because this was one of the was most prone to crashing, because it didn't make any sense when it came to drivers. They stopped developing drivers, but at the same time they tried to do the same as with Windows 8. They were trying to ship something that wasn't ready because they thought they had to ship something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that they would be much better off if they just renamed Windows 2000 Consumer Edition, call it CE, and say, okay, this is new Windows CE that is going to be a consumer edition of Windows. Unfortunately, we got another type of Windows CE way back then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was always also a thing that didn't work.
Yeah, I remember those things as well. I mean, the worst part of it for me is actually that this came between 2 versions of Windows that worked really well, or actually 3 versions of Windows that worked really well. Windows 98 Second Edition, Windows 2000 worked really well. I already said in one of the episodes, one of my favorite OSs, and XP.
Yes, but the XP was, when you come to when you're trying to follow the path of releases that were supposed to be consumer editions, Windows 98 SE, then Windows ME, then XP, they just kept doing the same thing that they always did. Every second edition was working.
Yep.
So Windows 98, but to be completely honest, Windows 98 was not so bad.
No, but second edition was much better. Yeah. Just like 95, same thing. 95 versus OSR2.
OSR2, yes, OSR2 was...
it was a night and day difference for me, at least.
But it was because this was way back then when we weren't so used to upgrading.
Mm-hmm.
You didn't upgrade. Now it's completely normal for your computer to more or less change overnight, and they just call it a feature update,
mm-hmm.
or they don't call it at all. They just said general improvements.
Mm-hmm.
And then suddenly something is missing.
Yeah, weirdly.
Or something is in it.
Yeah, like WordPad is going to be missing.
Yes, and I saw that you're going to like this one. They created... they're not calling it official Microsoft release, but they are preparing this as a possible release candidate for future versions of Microsoft. So there is... pre-release version of a large language model intended for the Windows terminal.
Okay, I just survived through sudo on Windows. What's next?
The large language model is based on and the thing is that they're talking about that they're going to be able to train on the data that exists on your disk.
Train for me or train for them?
Both, but that's not that's not the point. The point is the other thing. Do you remember how slow and incredibly tedious the indexing system?
Yeah, I know where you're going with this.
So now imagine this, but with added
value of more latency.
More latency and more CPU engaged all the time, because it needs to retrain itself and create a huge And by huge, I mean actually huge meta file that's going to contain all the tokens for to generate information about your disk. Microsoft is now actively trying to make their users feel stupid.
I have a question. Why do they hate their customers?
I don't think that they consider them customers anymore.
What the hell are we then?
I think that we are beta testers and consumers. We are not customers. We are supposed to be browsing user edge and testing different technologies they're putting inside the operating system. But the price of the Windows is so minuscule to what they are making out of different other things that I think that we are just paying for the, I would say, power required to distribute the system itself.
Okay, so your general idea is that that means that in 2024 it's going to be the year of Linux desktop. That's it.
No, unfortunately, I think that this is going to be the year of Microsoft Copilot.
No, the year of Windows on ARM.
No, Microsoft Copilot.
Oh, Lord, help us.
Because Microsoft Copilot is right now pushing its way into different products, being a completely different product itself, and having the same name.
Excellent.
And so nobody knows what Microsoft Copilot actually is. Mm-hmm. Is it a Bing extension? Is it a Visual Studio extension for coding? Is it a Microsoft Office 365 Microsoft 365 extension for different applications inside the Office? It's just everything is named Copilot. Mm-hmm. And even I know that one of the things that actually made me laugh a little bit because was that a colleague of ours created a pilot. Mm-hmm. He said, okay, why are we calling this a Copilot? Let's create a pilot that's going to be able to code it by itself completely.
Why should we bother?
And it works.
Yeah.
So this is one of those things when you try to understand what the company is doing and you suddenly realize that maybe the reason why you are not making any sense out of what is happening is because nobody actually knows what they're doing.
For me, Millenium was like an actual Millennium bug.
I would say that if Millennium Edition came out today, I think that nobody would notice. I think that it happened at least once during the Windows 10 era. Mm-hmm. Amidst all the different versions,
and
subversions, the H2, whatever, the Art Edition, Autumn Edition, whatever what the editions were called. I think that at least one of those was so broken that it resembled what Windows MP was doing to you. And so I wouldn't say that this hasn't happened yet.
Okay. Well,
so Windows ME is probably a thing that should be mentioned on this list, but I see another bigger problem here. This wasn't a failure.
Yeah, okay, I get that.
People actually bought it.
Yeah, so they did
and
with
this
Vista.
Is the worst thing.
They bought Vista as well, which was almost equally as bad. Almost.
I think that the worst thing that Microsoft did was the Windows 8.
Nah, Windows 2 were worse.
No, Windows 8, because what they did with Windows 8 is they created a product that was abysmally bad, and then they tried to completely ignore that fact, and they tried to actually make people, they were gaslighting people into thinking that Windows 8 never existed. Do you remember when they said that you need to upgrade to Windows 8.1? And then, unless you want to completely lose the ability to work on your computer.
Yeah, this is something like that. I remember.
So this is one of those things when I said Microsoft is completely lost his mind. But then again, then came the new software as a service, PC as a service, cloud PC as a service,
Copilot.
And Copilot. And now I honestly don't know anymore. I'm just. At this point in time, even macOS looks like a decent, sane operating system.
It is a decent and sane operating system, whatever you say. But with that being said, which might be a topic for a future episode, how about we co-pilot out of this episode and let you do the co-piloting?
Okay, let me do the co-piloting. I'm going to say that this was a slightly, I would say, surprising list that Vedran compiled, and I'm slightly disappointed.
Why?
Because I didn't get the unless you count in Windows ME, the entirety of your what you did was entertaining, but it didn't had that catastrophic moment of complete misunderstanding what Microsoft did.
Okay.
What this thing is missing, the Nokia level of Microsoft Nokia acquisition level of disaster.
Okay, Skype.
Let's go for the end. Let's just go quickly through the acquisitions that Microsoft completely blew up.
Yeah, let's not. Wrap this
just
up.
give me a second.
No second. It's enough.
Just a second. I need this. I need this because I need to actually quickly get through the things that they did wrong. The problem is that, as you know, probably the list of things that Microsoft bought is longer than the list of things that you are buying over the entire year. So let's see. Okay.
Hotmail. Visio Corporation.
Hotmail was fun. Hotmail was, but they couldn't do anything wrong with the Hotmail.
Okay, Skype, Nokia,
Skype. Okay,
Mojang, LinkedIn, GitHub, Activision Blizzard.
Activision.
Yeah. I knew where we are going with this.
Activision, GitHub.
Yeah.
Nokia Solutions and Networks.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you remember way back then when they were first trying to buy Nintendo?
Yes, I remember that as well. But that was many months ago.
Back then when they decided for some reason they're going to become a TV producer and then try to create their own TV station?
Yeah.
But the thing is that with Microsoft is the same as it is with almost all the other big corporations. They are trying to buy new corporations into it because they want either an IP or they want to get the portfolio running. But I'm going to just mention two things that Microsoft bought. Because I just took a look and saw another amazing example. Navision.
Okay.
Because this is one of those things when I think that Microsoft just bought a company for no particular reason at all.
I disagree, but okay.
What was the point behind buying the Navision?
Well, the things that they have nowadays in the dynamic stack.
Yes, but dynamic stack itself is seems like Microsoft was trying to break into the CRM / bookkeeping business.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody else did it?
No, because they have a market for SQL, wanted to take a little bit of money out of SAP and Oracle and others. Made a kind of sense. I know that it's something that is difficult to understand, but I do think that it makes sense, especially now when you have the SaaS versions of those applications and whatnot.
I just think that the problem with all the lists, when you're listing all the failures that a corporation did or that anybody did, is that Microsoft is probably going to be on that list simply because they're acquiring so many companies, so many products that they are bound to be on the list.
Yeah.
The same as with Google, the same as with the thing that we also failed to mention. And I'm just going to put another honorable mention on the end of this thing.
Okay.
Facebook.
Yeah.
Because I think that Facebook has been one of the slowest falling falling into disgrace with all the different users that we have seen in the history of IT. And I think at the same time, this was one of the most incomprehensible wastes of money when it comes to developing a product.
Okay.
And I think that it should be mentioned because Facebook is going to fail, and it is failing so slowly that nobody sees what is happening, but everybody knows that it is happening.
Okay. Let it run.
So I'm going to guess this is going to be it. And also, thank you for not mentioning any of the messages that Microsoft and Google did.
Nah, didn't feel like that.
Yes, because it's just a low-hanging fruit.
No, it's too long of a list.
Yes, also that. Okay, thank you for this. We are going to be talking next week about
something else.
I don't know what.
Yeah, I have a couple of ideas.
I honestly have no. I have a couple of ideas also, but we are going to be dealing with those next week. Until then, I'm Yasmin.
Yeah, I'm Vedran, and see you next week.
See you. Bye.
Bye.